Do you believe one sentence can turn an entire life upside down? Imagine this: a struggling waitress overhears a secret that could destroy a millionaire's empire. She has just 30 minutes to decide: stay silent or risk everything to speak up. What would you do in that situation? I don't know about you, but I was truly shocked when I learned the truth behind this story. Have you ever had to make a life-changing choice? Share in the comments. Let's meet our main character, a seemingly ordinary woman who did something extraordinary. Under the dazzling neon lights of Manhattan at night, Capital One Cafe at Columbus Circle shines like a jewel in the heart of Wall Street. The financial elite gather here, the clink of coffee cups blending with their posh laughter. Sarah, a 42-year-old waitress, is brewing Pete's coffee, her sharp eyes scanning the VIP crowd, where millionaire James sits next to his best friend Mark. That night, while pouring another espresso, Sarah overhears Mark whispering to his accomplice about a plan to seize James's real estate company worth hundreds of millions. She freezes behind the counter, her heart pounding, sweat beading on her forehead. With only 30 minutes of break time to decide: stay silent for safety or risk warning James, though it could cost her job, maybe even more. Mark suddenly turns, glaring at Sarah with a piercing look, as if he knows she overheard something. In the dim glow of Capital One Cafe, Sarah clutches a hastily scribbled note, her eyes wavering, standing at a crossroads that could change her life or destroy it. The feeling of being caught between right and wrong chills me to the bone, and I bet Sarah felt the same. Honestly, have you ever overheard a secret that made you want to act right away? Share in the comments. I really want to know. And now, let's step into Capital One Cafe that night, where Sarah begins her extraordinary journey. Capital One Cafe at Columbus Circle, Manhattan, is the meeting spot for Wall Street's financial elite, where the rich aroma of Pete's coffee blends with the upscale ambiance. Polished oak tables, leather-upholstered chairs, and warm golden lights create a small corner of wealth in the heart of New York. Sarah, 42 years old, is a waitress here, with nimble hands carrying coffee trays and sharp eyes always noticing every little detail. She lives in a cramped apartment in Queens, where every morning she rises at 5 a.m. to make fried eggs and toast for her 10-year-old daughter, Lily. Then, Sarah squeezes onto the subway, navigating bustling streets to reach Capital One Cafe, where she works 12 hours a day. She carries trays of lattes, wipes tables, and smiles at men in expensive suits, though her heart is heavy with financial worries. Sarah's monthly salary, just $2,500 after taxes, barely covers rent and asthma medication for Lily, who often needs an inhaler. Every night, when Lily's asleep, Sarah sits under the dim kitchen light, checking bills, trying to calculate if there's enough money for school books or new shoes for her daughter. Lily, with bright eyes and drawings of her mom behind the coffee counter, is the reason Sarah never gives up. When Lily asks, "Mom, when can I go to the park like my friends?" Sarah just hugs her, saying, "Soon, my love." As a young woman, Sarah studied 2 years at a community college, dreaming of becoming an accountant, but pregnant with Lily, she had to drop out to raise her daughter alone. Lily's father left right after she was born, leaving Sarah with a $5,000 debt and a broken heart. She turned to waitressing, working at various places, from a Brooklyn bar to a Flatiron restaurant, but life was never easy. Once, Sarah was fired from a bar for refusing to serve a drunken customer, a decision that nearly cost her home and taught her to be more cautious. From then on, Sarah learned to stay silent, keeping to the shadows, but she also honed a special talent reading people. A furrowed brow, a forced smile, or a glance, Sarah catches it instantly. Her way of surviving the harsh world of the elite. At Capital One Cafe, she witnesses million-dollar deals discussed over espresso, handshakes hiding ulterior motives. Sarah knows the names and habits of regular customers, like the finance mogul who likes flat whites or the stockbroker who always orders mochas. She's not just a waitress, she's a silent observer, memorizing every face, every word, like a living book about Wall Street. Sarah stands behind the counter at Capital One Cafe, wiping coffee cups, but her mind never stops calculating. Each month, after paying $500 in rent for her Queens apartment, she's left with just a few $100s for food, Lily's asthma medication, and unexpected expenses. Last week, the apartment's water heater broke, costing an extra $200, forcing Sarah to skip buying new clothes for Lily. The 10-year-old now wears an old, tight-fitting jacket, but still beams when her mom hugs her. Sarah once promised to take Lily to Coney Island, but that promise keeps getting delayed due to lack of money. Every time she watches her daughter sleep, Sarah vows to find a way out of this cycle. But how can she when she's just a waitress? She once considered going back to school, but with a 12-hour work schedule and the responsibility of raising her daughter, her accounting dream feels like a distant memory. Sarah recalls her toughest days, especially the year she was fired from a Brooklyn bar. She refused to serve alcohol to a drunken customer who threatened to smash the place if he didn't get another drink. Sarah stood up for what was right, but the manager chose to protect the regular, firing her the next day. She nearly lost her home, had to borrow $1,000 from friends to get through the month, and learned to stay silent in the face of injustice. But staying silent doesn't mean not seeing. Sarah still observes everything at Capital One Cafe, from how VIP customers clench their hands when stressed to the fake smiles in their handshakes. She knows the Wall Street elite are full of schemes, where loyalty can be bought with money. That fateful night, the atmosphere in Capital One Cafe feels different, like a storm is coming. Sarah senses the tension, though she doesn't know where it's coming from. She stands behind the counter, preparing a latte, her eyes scanning the oak tables where men in dark suits whisper about contracts and stocks. The clink of coffee cups, the scent of Pete's coffee, and the dim lights can't hide the uneasy feeling. Sarah pieces together fragments in her mind. A big secret is about to be revealed, and she might be the one to witness it. She doesn't know that. In just a few minutes, a familiar customer will walk in, pulling her into the heart of Wall Street's storm. The feeling when you know you're standing at the edge of something huge, it's like a jolt of electricity running through you. Don't you think? Honestly, have you ever met someone who made you feel they were hiding a secret? Share in the comments. And now, let's meet that familiar customer, the one who brings a storm to Sarah and Capital One Cafe. That night, Capital One Cafe at Columbus Circle, Manhattan, was still bustling with Wall Street's financial elite. Whispers of stocks and contracts echoing under the golden lights. Sarah stood behind the counter, preparing a latte, when the glass door slid open and a familiar customer walked in. James, 55 years old, was a real estate millionaire, owning a string of skyscrapers from Midtown to Lower Manhattan. She knew him from his orders of Black Americano, no sugar, and generous tips accompanied by a warm smile. James always appeared with a confident demeanor, sharing stories about real estate projects or his dream of building affordable housing for workers. But tonight, he was different. James stepped into the VIP lounge of Capital One Cafe, his hands clasped tightly, his eyes fixed on the floor, as if carrying an unspoken burden. His salt and pepper hair was messier than usual, and his tie hung loosely, as though he'd just endured a long, stressful day. Beside him was Mark, 53 years old, his best friend from Yale college days, whom James always called the irreplaceable brother. Mark, in an expensive navy suit, wore a confident smile, his gestures relaxed, as if he controlled everything. She had heard James talk about Mark, who helped him secure his first big contract 20 years ago, taking James's real estate company from nothing to hundreds of millions. Mark always ordered a latte with a hint of vanilla syrup, his voice deep and his pats on James's shoulder full of camaraderie. They sat on leather-upholstered chairs in the VIP lounge corner, where dim lighting and a private setting were often reserved for important discussions. Sarah brought the coffee tray, placing an Americano before James and a latte before Mark, then stepped back, but her eyes stayed on them. She noticed James barely spoke, only nodding slightly as Mark told some story about the real estate market. Mark, in contrast, talked nonstop, his hands gesturing excitedly, but his eyes darted around sneakily, as if afraid someone might overhear. Sarah, with her keen observational instincts, sensed something unusual. James, who once tipped her $50 just for a cheerful greeting, now sat silently, his hands gripping the coffee cup tightly, as if trying to hide his anxiety. Sarah had heard stories of betrayal among the financial elite, close friends turning on each other for money, contracts stolen right at places like Capital One Cafe. But she never thought she'd witness such a drama until she saw Mark whispering to a strange man sitting at the next table. Sarah stands behind the counter at Capital One Cafe, brewing an espresso, but her eyes remain fixed on James and Mark in the VIP lounge corner. The coffee grinder roars, but it doesn't drown out Mark's whispered voice to a strange man at the next table. Sarah, with her sharp observational skills, leans closer, pretending to wipe the counter to hear clearly. Mark speaks softly, but loud enough for her to catch. As long as James signs this contract, the company will be ours. He doesn't suspect a thing. Sarah freezes, her hand holding the coffee cup trembling slightly, her heart pounding. She understands immediately Mark is plotting to seize James's real estate company worth hundreds of millions. The best friend he always calls brother. Sarah returns to the counter, her mind reeling. She knows James, who once shared his dream of building affordable housing, doesn't deserve this betrayal. Speaking up could cost her job at Capital One Cafe, where she needs every dollar to support Lily. Sarah recalls the time at a Brooklyn bar when she was fired for refusing to serve a drunken customer. That decision to do the right thing nearly cost her home, and the memory still haunts her. Now, she has just 30 minutes of break time to decide stay silent for safety or warn James, though it could cost her everything. Sarah glances at Mark, his piercing eyes cold, as if he senses she's watching. She knows the Wall Street elite are unforgiving. One wrong word could ruin her. But the image of Lily, with her smile and drawings of her mom, flashes in her mind. Sarah wonders if she stays silent. Could she look into her daughter's eyes and say she lived rightly? She had heard stories of betrayal at Capital One Cafe, where money and power turn friends into enemies. But this time, she's not just a listener, she's standing at the edge of $1 million secret. Sarah grips the cleaning cloth tightly, trying to stay calm, but her heart feels like it's leaping out of her chest. She looks at James, still sitting silently, his eyes heavy, as if carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. She knows one small action of hers could change everything or destroy her. The feeling when you know a secret powerful enough to ruin someone, but speaking up could harm you. It's like a fire burning in your chest. Don't you think? Honestly, have you ever faced a choice between what's right and what's safe? Share in the comments. And now, let's follow Sarah as she makes the boldest decision of her life at Capital One Cafe. Sarah stands behind the counter at Capital One Cafe, clutching the cleaning cloth tightly, her mind reeling after overhearing Mark's plot to seize James's company. She glances at the clock, only 30 minutes of break time to make the biggest decision of her life. The financial consultation counter, where VIP customers meet with bank staff, is just around the corner, a few steps from James and Mark's table. Sarah grabs a piece of paper from the order notepad, her trembling hand writing, "Mark plans to take your company. Be careful." Each stroke feels like a knife. She knows these words could save James, but they could also land her in trouble. She glances at Mark, laughing loudly with the strange man, his eyes scanning the counter as if probing. Sarah tucks the note into her apron pocket, her heart pounding, trying to keep a normal expression while brewing a cappuccino. She recalls the time at a Brooklyn bar when she was fired for doing the right thing, nearly losing her home, having to borrow from friends to get through the month. Would this time be different? She thinks of Lily, of her daughter's smile when hugged, and wonders if she stays silent. Could she face herself? Sarah takes a deep breath, steps out from behind the counter, carrying a coffee tray as an excuse to approach James's table. She places an Americano before James, her other hand secretly slipping the note under a napkin, her eyes avoiding his. James, still weighed down, doesn't notice, but his fingers brush the note as he grabs the coffee cup. Sarah returns to the counter, sweat beading on her forehead, feeling like the entire Capital One Cafe is watching her. Mark suddenly looks up, his piercing gaze sweeping over Sarah, as if sensing something amiss. She pretends to wipe the counter, but her hands shake so much she drops a spoon, the metallic clatter ringing through the quiet space. Sarah's manager, Mr. Karen, a stern woman with her hair tightly pinned up, approaches, her voice cold. Sarah, focus on the customers. Don't make me remind you again. Sarah nods, but her heart burns, fearing Mark might have suspected something. She knows the Wall Street elite are unforgiving. A single misstep could cost her job, or worse. But the note has been delivered, and there's no turning back. Sarah stands behind the counter, watching James from afar, wondering if he'll read the warning before it's too late. Sarah hurries back to the financial consultation counter at Capital One Cafe, her heart pounding after secretly passing the warning note to James. She tries to keep a calm face, brewing a flat white, but her eyes keep darting to the VIP lounge. Mark, sitting next to James, suddenly stops talking, his piercing gaze locked on Sarah, as if he can read her thoughts. She feels that look like a knife, making her hands tremble as she sets the coffee cup down. Mark whispers something to the strange man, then stands walking slowly toward the financial consultation counter, right next to where Sarah is. He orders a glass of water, his voice low. How long have you worked here? Do you ever eavesdrop on customers? Sarah swallows hard, forcing a smile. I just do my job, sir. But her heart feels like it's about to leap out of her chest, fearing Mark suspects the note. Before she can catch her breath, missing. Karen, the cafe's manager with her tightly pinned hair and stern eyes, steps up beside Sarah. Her voice is cold, Sarah. You dropped a spoon, neglecting customers one more time, and I'll report you to management. Sarah nods, apologizing, but her heart burns. Knowing a single complaint from Mark could cost her job instantly. She recalls being fired in Brooklyn, nearly losing her home just for doing the right thing, and that fear resurges. But then Lily's image appears, with her smile and question, Mom, will I have to work as hard as you? Sarah clenches her fists, telling herself she can't stay silent. Not this time. She chose to warn James, and despite her fear, she stands firm in that decision. She glances at James, seeing him discreetly open the note under the napkin, his eyes shifting, as if waking from a nightmare. Sarah knows the note reached the right person, but she also understands consequences could hit at any moment. Mark returns to the table, his gaze still fixed on Sarah, like a wolf stalking prey. She stands near the counter, trying to keep her breathing steady, but it feels like the entire Capital One Cafe is closing in around her. The Wall Street elite don't forgive those who meddle in their games, and Sarah just stepped into the storm's center. But deep in her heart, she feels a spark. This decision might not only save James, but could also transform her own life. The feeling when you know you've done the right thing, but the cost could be everything. It's like standing on a cliff's edge, don't you think? Honestly, have you ever taken a risk for something bigger than yourself? Share in the comments. And now let's witness the moment James faces the truth, as Mark's secret is exposed at Capital One Cafe. Sarah hurries past the financial consultation counter at Capital One Cafe, her heart still racing after secretly passing the warning note to James. She brews a mocha, her eyes discreetly watching James in the VIP lounge corner, where he just read the note, his hand gripping the Americano tightly. His gaze shifts from worry to steely resolve, as if uncovering a painful truth. James quietly pulls out his phone, fingers typing fast to text his assistant, demanding an immediate review of the real estate company's accounts. He keeps his eyes fixed on Mark, who is still laughing with the strange man, unaware that the note has shaken everything. Within hours, when the accounting team reports $5 million has been siphoned from the company's funds through secret accounts controlled by Mark. James, who once saw Mark as a brother, feels his heart torn apart by the betrayal. Sarah had heard him talk about their early startup days, when Mark helped him secure a major contract, taking the company from a small Brooklyn office to Wall Street's heights. Now, those memories are mere ashes. James calls his lawyer, his voice low but firm, requesting documents for an urgent meeting right at Capital One Cafe. He chooses the VIP lounge, with its leather chairs and dim lighting, to confront Mark before the company's key partners. Sarah, from the consultation counter corner, sees James step outside, phone pressed to his ear, his voice ringing with authority amidst Manhattan's noise. She can't hear the details, but senses the cafe's atmosphere growing heavy, like a storm about to break. Mark, seated at the table, orders another latte, his gaze sweeping over Sarah. sharp as a blade. She stacks napkins, trying to keep her hand steady, but sweat beads on her forehead, fearing Mark suspects her role in the note. Sarah thinks of Lily, of her promise to take her to Coney Island, and reassures herself she did the right thing by passing the note. But fear still clings to her if Mark retaliates. She could lose her job, her daughter's future. James returns to the cafe, his eyes now like steel. No trace left of the earlier hesitation from a man betrayed. Sarah sees him quickly confer with a group of newcomers, dressed in suits, carrying briefcases, as if preparing for a financial battle. Capital One Cafe, with the scent of Pete's coffee and the clink of cups, now feels like an arena where truth is about to be unveiled. Sarah stands near the consultation counter, holding a coffee tray, knowing her action has set off an unstoppable chain of events. The atmosphere in the VIP lounge of Capital One Cafe at Columbus Circle, Manhattan, feels heavy as lead when James stands abruptly, his gaze sharp as a blade. He holds a stack of documents from his lawyer, his deep, commanding voice echoing among the partners. "Mark, you embezzled $5 million from my company, didn't you?" Every sound in the cafe falls silent. The clink of coffee cups stops, and all eyes turn to Mark. He's still wearing a confident smile, now pales, his hand gripping the latte cup so tightly his knuckles turn white. Mark stammers James, You're mistaken. I would never..." But James cuts him off, slamming the documents onto the table. Numbers, emails, and bank transactions slicing through like knives to reveal the truth. Mark had plotted to seize the real estate company worth hundreds of millions, betraying the best friend he called brother. The partners, who once saw Mark as a company pillar, now murmur, their eyes filled with disappointment and anger. Mark leaps up, his voice trembling. "This is a trap. I'm being framed." He turns to Sarah, standing near the financial consultation counter, his glare burning. "Was it you lowly waitress?" Sarah feels her heart stop, but she stands tall, unflinching, though her hands tremble holding the coffee tray. James raises a hand to stop Mark, his voice steely enough. "Mark, Sarah saved this company. She dared to do what you never could live, honestly." He turns to Sarah, his voice loud, resonating through Capital One Cafe. "Sarah, thank you for your courage. You're the hero today." Sarah freezes, her face flushing, unable to believe she's being acknowledged before Wall Street's elite. She nods slightly, struggling to keep her voice steady. "Just did what was right, sir." James continues, "Mark, you're fired effective immediately. My lawyers will ensure you pay for everything." Mark, his face ashen, tries to shout, but the furious glares of the partners silence him. He leaves the cafe, not daring to look back, as security arrives to ensure everything goes smoothly. Sarah hears from a colleague that Mark will face lawsuits, potentially losing everything for his embezzlement. She stands near the counter, still clutching the tray, her heart swelling with mixed emotions, fear, pride, and a spark of hope. She thinks of Lily, of her daughter's smile when she promised a trip to Coney Island, and for the first time believes that dream could come true. James, before leaving the lounge, approaches Sarah, shaking her hand firmly. "You did what no one else dared." "I won't forget, Sarah." She smiles, a heartfelt smile, feeling as if the golden lights of Capital One Cafe suddenly shine brighter. Justice has prevailed, and Sarah, once an unknown waitress, now stands in the glow of recognition. She knows her journey is just beginning, but this moment, like a fire igniting in her heart, has changed everything. The feeling when justice triumphs and an ordinary person like Sarah becomes a light on Wall Street. It's like a flame lighting up all of Manhattan. Don't you think? Honestly, which moment in Sarah's fight made you want to stand and clap share in the comments? And now, let's explore Sarah's next journey, as she transforms this fateful moment at Capital One Cafe into a new life. A few days after the confrontation at Capital One Cafe, Sarah is still behind the counter, brewing Pete's coffee, but her heart feels lighter after justice was served. She still carries trays, wipes tables, and smiles at VIP customers. But her eyes now hold a hint of confidence, as if the warning note changed something deep inside. One afternoon, when the cafe is quiet, James walks in, no longer looking tense as before. He wears a gray suit, his salt and pepper hair neatly combed, and orders a black Americano as usual. Sarah sets the coffee down, expecting a familiar joke, but James looks straight at her, his voice low. "Sarah, I want to talk privately." She's surprised, her heart racing, fearing she's caused some trouble again. James leads her to the VIP lounge corner, where golden lights shine on leather chairs, and says, "You saved my company. I want you to be a customer relations manager." Sarah is stunned, her hands clutching her apron, unable to believe her ears. The salary he offers, $100,000 a year, is 5 times her current income, enough to transform Lily's life. But Sarah shakes her head, her voice trembling. "I'm just a waitress. I don't know anything about management or real estate." Insecurity grips her, the years of dropping out of college, the days struggling to raise her daughter alone, make her doubt herself. James smiles, placing his hand on the table. "You have intuition and courage. Skills can be learned." He suggests she join a training course at Capital One, where the bank offers classes on customer management and basic finance. Sarah thinks of Lily, of the nights her daughter asked Mom, "When will I live in a big house?" She recalls checking bills under dim lights, worrying about asthma medication costs. Accepting James's offer could be the chance to break that cycle, but it's also a risky leap. Sarah takes a deep breath, nods, "I'll try, but I need time." James nods back, handing her his assistant's business card, saying, "Start next week." "You'll do great, I'm sure." Sarah returns to the counter, her hands still trembling, but this time not from fear, but from a spark of hope. She begins to imagine a different future, a stable home for Lily, the trips she promised. Capital One Cafe, with the scent of Pete's coffee and the clink of cups, now feels like it's opening a new door for Sarah. She stands behind the counter, looking out the glass window toward Columbus Circle, knowing she's just stepped into a completely new journey. Sarah starts her new job at James's real estate company, leaving behind the Capital One Cafe counter to step into a bright office in Midtown Manhattan. $100,000, $1,000 a year salary lets her breathe easier, no longer checking bills under dim lights in Queens. After 6 months, Sarah saves enough to put a down payment on a small house in Flushing, Queens, with 2 bedrooms and a tiny backyard for Lily to play. For the first time, the 10-year-old has her own room, hanging drawings of her mom on the walls, her smile brighter than ever. Sarah still remembers the day she took Lily to see the house, when the girl exclaimed, "Mom, is this really our house?" She hugged her daughter, tears streaming down, knowing that the warning note at Capital One Cafe opened this door. That summer, Sarah fulfills her promise, taking Lily to Disney World in Florida, where the girl laughs loudly on roller coasters and hugs her mom tightly by Cinderella's castle. Sarah watches her daughter, her heart full of fulfillment, as if every past hardship was worth it. She begins a customer management training course at Capital One, learning to negotiate, read contracts, and build trust with clients. Sarah, once insecure about dropping out of college, now stands confidently before partners, her voice clear, her eyes free of a waitress's worries. She doesn't just work, she shares her story with colleagues, recounting the fateful night at Capital One Cafe when she risked everything to warn James. The story spreads through the company, from managers to new employees, making Sarah an unexpected source of inspiration. She starts writing a blog online, sharing her journey from waitress to manager, with lessons on courage and perseverance. Lily, seeing her mom write, asks Mom, "Are you a superhero?" And Sarah laughs, "No, I just tried to do the right thing." Sarah invests extra savings in index funds, learning from free finance classes at Capital One, preparing for Lily's future. She envisions a day when Lily attends college, free from the worries her mom once faced, and that drives her to work harder. The new house, the Disney trip, and Sarah's newfound confidence prove that one small decision can change an entire life. The feeling when you see someone overcome hardship to build a better future, it's like a ray of sunshine on Wall Street, don't you think? Honestly, have you ever witnessed someone transform their life through an unexpected opportunity? Share in the comments. And now, let's see how Sarah turns her story into an even greater inspiration in Manhattan. Sarah, now a customer relations manager at James's real estate company, no longer stands behind the Capital One Cafe counter. But she never forgets the days of carrying coffee trays. She lives in her new home in Flushing, Queens, with a small backyard where Lily runs and draws under the sunlight. Every evening, Sarah watches her daughter sleep, her heart filled with determination not to let anyone endure the struggles she once faced. She remembers her colleagues at Capital One Cafe, those who work 12-hour shifts, worrying about their children just like she did. An idea sparks. Sarah wants to help their kids get an education, so they don't have to drop out like she did years ago. She takes $10,000 from her savings to start a scholarship fund called Bright Futures for the children of service workers in Manhattan. Sarah contacts cafes and restaurants, urging colleagues to contribute, even if just a few dollars each. James, learning of the idea, donates an additional $20,000, turning the fund into reality, providing scholarships for the first 5 children. Sarah visits Capital One Cafe, meeting old colleagues, sharing about the fund, and inviting them to join. An old friend, Maria, hugs her tightly, saying, "Sarah, you've done what we only dared to dream." News of the scholarship fund spreads quickly in Manhattan's service community, from cafes to upscale restaurants. A local journalist hears the story, contacting Sarah to write an article for the New York Post. The article describes her journey, from the warning note at Capital One Cafe to changing her life and others. Sarah, once shy in front of crowds, now confidently answers interviews, sharing about the fateful night that changed everything. The article catches the attention of CNBC, a major financial news channel, and they invite Sarah to appear on Money Matters. She agrees, though her heart pounds, thinking of Lily and the children the scholarship fund will help. On the filming day, Sarah stands in a brightly lit Manhattan studio, wearing a simple but elegant business dress. She recounts the story at Capital One Cafe, her voice clear, emphasizing courage and the value of doing what's right. CNBC's audience, mostly entrepreneurs and Wall Street tycoons, listens, captivated by the journey of a former waitress. Sarah's story begins to spread online, from Twitter to LinkedIn, with thousands of shares and comments. Sarah reads a comment. "She reminds me that anyone can make a difference, no matter who they are." She smiles, knowing her journey at Capital One Cafe has now gone far beyond the Pete's coffee counter. The CNBC interview marks a turning point, bringing Sarah's story from the Capital One Cafe counter to all of America. The interview video, with Sarah recounting the night she secretly passed the warning note to James, racks up millions of views on YouTube in just days. Twitter users share the clip, calling her Wall Street's silent hero. LinkedIn is flooded with posts from entrepreneurs, praising Sarah's courage for standing up to the financial elite. A Forbes article describes her as a symbol of justice, someone who proves a single small action can change an entire system. Sarah, once just a waitress brewing Pete's coffee, is now invited to speak at Manhattan events, from financial seminars to community forums. She stands before crowds sharing the fateful night at Capital One Cafe, her voice shaky at first but growing stronger. Her Bright Futures Scholarship Fund receives more donations from Wall Street entrepreneurs, helping 20 children of service workers attend school. Sarah visits Capital One Cafe, seeing old colleagues smile proudly as their kids receive scholarships. A mother, her former colleague Maria, hugs Sarah, saying, "You gave my child a chance I never had." Sarah thinks of Lily, now 11, thriving thanks to their stable home in Queens and trips like Disney World. The girl draws a new picture, with her mom standing before a microphone, captioned, "Mom is my superhero." Sarah hangs the drawing in the living room, a reminder of her journey from the coffee counter to the spotlight. She starts receiving invitations from universities, sharing lessons on honesty and courage with students. A student asks, "How did you dare to take such a risk?" Sarah replies, "I thought of my daughter, and I didn't want her to grow up in a world where truth is buried." Sarah's story inspires millions of Americans, from service workers to entrepreneurs, reminding them anyone can make a difference. James, once a regular customer, now becomes a mentor, helping Sarah expand the scholarship fund through his Wall Street connections. Capital One Cafe, where it all began, now stands as a symbol of the moment justice prevailed. Sarah, once a struggling waitress, is now a symbol of courage, proving a single decision can shake all of Wall Street. The feeling when you see an ordinary person become a symbol, changing others' lives. It's like a flame lighting up all of Manhattan, don't you think? Honestly, have you ever been inspired by someone overcoming hardship to do something great? Share in the comments. And now, let's wrap up Sarah's incredible journey, from Capital One Cafe to the entire United States. Sarah's journey at Capital One Cafe in Columbus Circle, Manhattan, is an unforgettable story of courage and justice. From a struggling waitress raising her daughter Lily, Sarah risked everything to write a warning note, saving James's multi-million-dollar company from Mark's betrayal. She faced the fear of losing her job, recalling the time she nearly lost her home in Brooklyn for doing the right thing, but still chose to stand up for truth. That decision changed everything. Sarah became a customer relations manager with $100,000 a year salary, bought a small house in Queens, and took Lily to Disney World. She founded the Bright Futures Scholarship Fund, helping children of service workers get an education, and her story spread on CNBC, Twitter, LinkedIn, inspiring millions of Americans. Sarah, once just a girl brewing Pete's coffee, is now a symbol of honesty, proving anyone can make a difference, regardless of background. This story reminds us that courage doesn't require wealth or power, just a single moment of making the right choice. Think about your own life. Have you ever faced a tough choice where truth clashed with safety? Sarah chose truth, and it not only saved James but opened a new future for her and Lily. You can do the same. A small act, like helping someone or speaking up, can change the world around you. At Unveiled Wealth, we believe stories like Sarah's are the spark that ignites dreams and justice. Take action today. Hit the like button if you found this story worthwhile. Share it with friends to spread the inspiration. Don't forget to subscribe to Unveiled Wealth and turn on notifications, because the next video will reveal a Wall Street financial secret you can't miss. We'll take you into the hidden corners of the financial elite, where bold decisions shape destinies, just like Sarah did. If you want to keep exploring stories of courage and success, Unveiled Wealth is the place for you. Drop a comment, share which moment in Sarah's journey moved you the most. The feeling of seeing an ordinary person like Sarah change the world. It's like a flame lighting up Wall Street, don't you think? Honestly, which moment in Sarah's story made you want to take action? Share in the comments. And now, get ready for a new story at Unveiled Wealth, where the next financial secret in Manhattan will leave you stunned.